Rust is an amazing game filled with exploration, PvE, quests, friends, and let's not forget those epic PvP fights. However, we all start as washed up nobodies.
And as washed up nobodies, how does this game feel to us and how difficult is it to actually learn and get into the game?
Well, it's not actually too difficult to get into the game because they gave us a tutorial. And I'll have to say, folks, I know a lot of you are like, ugh, a tutorial. But this tutorial for me was pretty easy and quick to understand because the character they had helping us was also themselves collecting resources. So it kind of took away a little bit of that time consuming situation where I'm spending all this time to collect all this stuff just to find out I need more of it. I could just get it from the guy and then continue with the tutorial.
Yeah, I think the tutorial pretty well covered everything and was very decent as tutorials go. And this is also coming from someone who both failed this tutorial and fails a lot of other tutorials when he does them. I don't know what it is with me in tutorials, but apparently I struggle. Just just put me in the game, okay? Give me the basic controls to put me in the game because I can't do the tutorials for some reason. But it was literally just the fact that I built when you have to go through and build the base, the foundation too low, and I needed to raise it up more. But you can't delete the base once you start building it. That was my only problem with the tutorial. Other than that, it was very smooth. We got the resources we need to make the tools we needed very quickly. It gave us an introduction to gathering resources, but didn't make us gather everything. So it didn't feel grindy. It didn't feel like a grindy tutorial. It felt like it was giving us just enough information.
Well, despite your failures and not being able to place foundations, which I have no clue how you failed to do that, after I finished making the base in the tutorial that you're supposed to make and put the bed down, there was a little bit of humor into the game where while the guy giving us the tutorial, like tasks to complete, had a bit of humor to him, like giving me grief about asking what a door was. He's like, it's a door. Did you hit your head? And then, then I finished the base. He made fun of me and then he was like, "Oh no, there's a bear behind you," and I just died. It's kind of funny because like it kind of breaks the fourth wall a little bit because when you respawn and you go back to him, he's all like, "Oh boy, I'm sure glad you placed that bed down. I told you to."
And no worries from him about the bear at all, even though it just killed you while you were standing right in front of him.
He smelled funny.
I guess bears don't eat people with broken legs. I don't know.
Despite all of this, you actually were able to eventually hunt down that darn bear, learn how to cook, and then you made a kayak shortly after that to be able to go and get help, which was kind of cool because it introduced a little bit of the water mechanics to the game, kind of showing you that you can actually traverse the water, not just swim in it. You can make vessels to go around in it. And then there was a cutscene as you got away from the shore for a little bit, where you kind of meet some unsavory people who hit you with the butt end of a stock, and it kind of is a prelude to why you wash up on the shore. But the island is so huge to play on these official servers.
Yeah, and I think we were playing potentially on a medium-sized map. I think there's actually bigger maps that you can play on, but we had a long trek to find each other because you don't spawn together when you're in a group. You spawn at random spots across the coast of this island. And yes, when you bring up the map, you can see quadrants marked on the map. So there is a square where you're at marked with a letter and number, so it's easy to tell your partners or whoever you're playing with, I'm in this quadrant, meet me here, or hey, we're gonna all head to this quadrant, we all need to meet up here. But it's still a very long journey to get there, and there's so many things that can happen between starting on the shore and meeting in whatever quadrant you guys decide to meet in.
I almost suggest to people that if you're going to be playing with buddies, put down a sleeping bag, hold E, do give to friend, and then just type in the right username on Steam and give it to them. Don't make my mistake. I typed in the wrong username. But just do it that way and let them perish and then spawn next to you. It's far, far quicker. It only takes 20 cloth to do it. And then you can make a team and add your person to your team, and you guys can see each other all the way across the map, and it's a lot easier to find each other. But it's not just about finding each other or being able to know where you are on the map. It's about surviving on the map.
It's not bad. We've definitely played a few other games that are a lot worse than Rust, and we've played a few games that are a lot easier than Rust. There is a hunger and thirst mechanic. They're not too hard to avoid. If you're sprinting around everywhere because there is unlimited stamina, you lose your food a little bit faster when you're sprinting, or so it seemed to me. But there's a decent amount of food able to be collected. You can find it in different abandoned boxes and crates. Things like candy bars and granola bars and apples. You can also find mushrooms on the ground. Those are relatively plentiful, at least in the area we were at. You could find a group of two or three. On the other side of things, if you're brave enough, you can also potentially find a base that's not fully sealed up and maybe some players that aren't logged into the server and you can get food and water from them.
You mean rob people while they're sleeping? Wait a minute. Do people not log their characters out when they leave the game?
No, when you leave the server, your character essentially goes to sleep wherever you log out at, and it anybody's free to loot you if they find you. They're free to kill you and take all of your stuff, or they're free to loot you and leave you lying there in your base or in the grass or whatever and wander off. In fact, one of the times that we were trying to meet up while you were trying to find the stuff to make a sleeping bag, I found a base that someone had forgot to build a wall on, so it was just open. I was able to hop in the base and take the stuff off of two characters' bodies, but I swapped the inventories. I put the stuff from guy one in guy two's pocket, and I wish I could have been there to see them wake up and find all their stuff mixed up, but I felt bad, so I gave all the stuff back. But I could have kept all that, and they would have just been out of luck.
But besides you being a cretin, let's talk about resource gathering. When you go to a resource gather from a tree or a rock or an ore source, there are markers or indications on it that make it a lot easier to take them down. I think on trees it's a red X. You just have to keep attacking the red X and eventually the tree will fell. You'll get more resources far quicker. And the same with ore nodes or stone nodes. It's a sparkling little light that shows up on them. My only complaint about the system is at night it's impossible to see.
But really, because it moves around so much, and sometimes it'll go from being right in front of you and easily hit to being on the other side of the tree. So sometimes it's difficult to hit that X without having a buddy standing behind you holding a torch up or wearing a headlamp.
The base building system, while very rudimentary and basic, having prefab walls, foundations, etc., you're able to actually kind of build quite a nice base and upgrade it with the materials you're collecting. But you have to have a certain item inside the base called tool cabinet.
Yeah, you got to keep that tool cabinet supplied with different resources depending on what your base is made out of in order for it to stay built and built up when you leave the server, or even when you're just not at home at base. It does Your base just doesn't stand on its own. Not only can it be raided and can other players take it down, but it degrades over time if you don't have resources in that tool cabinet.
So it affects you starting off because if you're building near a lot of these large base locations, there may not be a lot of places for you to collect resources because they're constantly chopping it all down to keep their bases from decaying or despawning. So it's something to keep in mind when you're actually building your base. Look around you, see how many other bases are around. But there are a lot of enemies and animals in the game that you have to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah. We died to a few different types of animals. I died to several NPCs in different locations. But again, there's the wolves, the boars, the bears, the humans. All those kind of animals can attack you and harm you quite badly.
I think one of the complaints you talked about the animals is they had quite an extended range. Like for me, one of the wolves had like a wolf and 1/4 extra range that it could hit you from, and it felt a little bit sucky. But we got used to it and were able to overcome it. I mean, we even tried to hunt a bear in the very beginning, and trust me, folks, 4 stone spears and 2 wooden ones wasn't enough to take this beast down.
Yeah, at one point we had that bear looking like a porcupine. We had so many spears sticking out of it, which is cool to it's cool to see after you're hunting one of these creatures to see either your arrows or your spears sticking out of it to show what kind of hits you've had on it and how much damage you've done and things like that. And then you can collect these items as well. But it was very funny seeing all of these spears sticking out of this bear and still seeing it come at us, attack us, and kill us multiple times.
Yeah. Now you don't only have to be worried about the animals. There are NPCs like you alluded to in the very beginning of our conversation.
Sometimes you don't even know they're there. You will just randomly come upon one, and there's no chance of like, oh, let me walk away once you've aggroed it, or anything like that. It just immediately will turn and start shooting. My first encounter with this was that when I was riding down the main road on the horse I found, I decided to stop and check my map, and I didn't realize off to the left there was an NPC standing there. So as I'm looking at my map, I just start hearing gunfire and look up, and there's a guy in a gas mask and a full like hazmat suit, just with a machine gun, just unloading on me and my horse. So I just got to run off into the hills to try to live and survive this encounter, only to eventually run into somebody's base turret and get killed anyways.
But this isn't just a stone, sticks, and mud kind of game. There's a lot of technology in this game, and you get it through your base and the crafting bench and that kind of stuff. I've seen gyrocopters, you got killed by an auto turret, there's submarines, there's full AKs, there's rocket launchers, there's sentry guns. There are so many technological parts of this.
There is regular looking like professional made guns, but then there's also what what I would consider like rudimentary guns. You know, think of like the pipe pistols and pipe rifles from Fallout. There's things that I got a double barrel shotgun. It was literally like the thing to rack shells in it was literally a screwdriver. Like you had an animation where your character popped up, pulled on a screwdriver to open the barrels to put more bullets in it. Like there's there's everything from stone spears and wooden spears and arrow bows and arrows, all the way up to rudimentary put together firearms, all the way up to professional firearms and grenade launchers and rocket launchers. And
But the tutorial was intuitive, it was easy to understand, and I felt like I wasn't given more information than I needed to just play the game and start exploring it myself. I was able to just learn the basics and go on my way.
yeah, I didn't feel like I was being overloaded. I didn't feel like I was getting a lore dump. I didn't finish off the tutorial going, man, I just want to play this game. Can we hurry up and be done with this? I feel like it was just enough information to get me started. So when I spawned on the beach, I was able to know exactly what I needed to do to get going in the beginning. But it wasn't too little information to where I was lost when I got in the game.
Yeah, and I have to say, once we were on the island, I did struggle, but I only struggled because there was so much going on. There were gunshots, there were explosions, there were animals, there were NPCs. I never struggled because the game was too hard because of its environment or the survival mechanics for the player itself.
Yeah, you got to get established pretty quickly when you first get on land, or you're going to be in a lot of trouble. But it's not that difficult to get established. Is the key point. You can kind of get a foothold pretty quickly, especially if you stay in one area and just start gathering resources and build a rudimentary base right away.
Yeah, because the player population can get up to like 200 on some of these official servers. And every time we played, which was like 3 to 4 times, we played for a total of like, I think, 18 hours to just kind of explore it. The pot never dropped below like 30 people. Rust is hopping. And, I never had a PvP encounter, but it sounds like you actually had one shortly after I logged out one night.
So we have a two-door system. We walk out of the interior door, close it, lock it, and then we have an exterior door that we also walk out, close and lock. And we only had key locks at this point, so I had keys on me. Well, when I opened that exterior door to go outside, I immediately got hit with some type of automatic fire and got killed right away, instantly. No chance to react. Literally, the only thing that I was able to do was yell because I it scared me. I respawned inside the base and sat there for a minute, waiting for this guy to find out that I had keys on my body and open the interior door because I could see his gun barrel sticking through the interior door, and I knew this guy was just waiting on me to open the door again. He comes in. I throw my rock at him. He kills me a second time. I sit there in the respawn screen, listening to him rummage through our base, waiting for the time to elapse where I can respawn on my bed again. And I respawn, and I cower in the corner, holding my rock in my hands, while he goes through our chests, stares at your body as if he's going to kill you, takes a bunch of stuff, and then tells me, "quote this is the tax for living in my hood.
Find that awesome because Rust is a very heavy PvP game. Mind you, you can put up your own single player server or just for your friends and have fun on it. But I think a lot of the fun in Rust is the PvP experiences and the interactions. Overall, folks, I think whether you're brand new to Rust or just returning, playing Rust is actually actually a very forgiving experience and a very welcoming one. I almost never feel like it makes me want to rage quit. I always want to return back and be better.
Yeah, I'm ready to play some more. I'm excited. This is a game that I think I can get into and have a lot of fun. The only complaint really that I have about Rust is I feel like it's kind of pushes away casual players because of the base degradation and the fact that your character doesn't despawn when you leave the server. But as long as you realize that when you're going into it, or you accept that before you get deep into the game, then I think you'll do just fine. You'll enjoy it. You may just have to start out as a fresh spawn on a regular basis, unless you're going to play every day or every couple of days, or like you said, unless you decide to do a private server or make your own server.
Well, folks, that has been the State of Survival's opinion about whether or not Rust is friendly to new players or returning players. Thank you very much for watching our episode. Join me in thanking Dimension 119 and Red Falcon for helping run this show, and I will see you later. To talk for now.
See you in another dimension.